Hello, welcome to our talk. I'm Sophie, an awareness and culture lead at National Grid. I've been in security around 7 years now, predominantly in physical security, before I moved over to training and awareness. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you alongside my colleague Nick about how we use reward and recognition to engage our colleagues.
Thank you, Sophie. So yeah, my name's Nick Wileman. I've worked for our company, National Grid, for 20 years. I've only been in the security team with the honour of leading the security and awareness and training team for the last 4.5. So you can see I'm one of those converts into security awareness and training with just transferable skills that has aided the security company. National Grid ourselves, we're a critical national infrastructure utility company. Think about electricity and gas. So we operate in the UK, which is obviously where Sophie and myself are from, and the northeast area of the US as well. Think of like from Boston down to New York. Fundamentally, our company branding is really good. It's really helpful to understand what National Grid does. We bring energy to life. So we literally take energy from wherever it's generated or extracted and move it to where it's needed. Think of like your cities, your homes, your hospitals, and your construction manufacturing as well. Just a brief bit of context of our security awareness and training program inside the company. It's about 5 years old, so we're quite mature. We've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm really quite privileged as well because obviously just before I started, National Grid really recognised the potential of managing human risk and funding it. So we've had fortunately 4 to 6 full-time staff working on the program for all this time. So as you can imagine, we were able to move past the compliance-based approach into promoting awareness and behaviour change really quite quickly. Obviously, talking to many of you, a lot of you are that sort of one-man band or additions to additional roles. So we've got quite a mature program, but we're happy to share our learnings as well. Our program itself, just really in a nutshell, we've got bite-sized, animated, 5-minute, bespoke modules to all colleagues. We complement that with role-based modules for our high-impact roles. If you think of like execs, developers, privileged access, HR, finance, all those types of roles, we've got bespoke modules to them as well. We complement that with the obligatory fish campaigns as well for all colleagues, as well as those high-impact roles that I've just mentioned. And we do a multitude of other activities like cyber escape rooms, company intranet site for self-help. We're regularly contributor to the company newsletter, and we're probably in the National Grid, probably the most active team when it comes to use of Viva Engage, which are equivalent of our Slack internally. And I'll capitalise the BUT on that, it always felt we were pretty much the only voice in the room. We were the only people really cared about security. So when you're looking to progress along, say, a maturity model to a really strong security culture, when we asked that question ourselves, it's quite difficult to say categorically, yes, we've got a strong culture, or no, we've not. National Grid, we are builders and maintainers of quite significant assets that are quite dangerous if operated incorrectly, can cause fatalities. So therefore, safety is always going to be the #1 priority for our company. That means that other subjects like security, physical well-being, mental well-being, sustainability, diversity, we're all in that same mix of trying to compete with other areas for people's time and attention, really try to position ourselves so that they're taking security more important and consider they're taken away from their day job than other subjects as well. I'm sure many of you can relate in the room as well.
I certainly can. For us, at times, it's felt like our colleagues just didn't appreciate the significance of security in our organisation or the importance of the controls and why they're in place, and let alone they did not understand why they should be playing a part themselves in helping secure our organisation. After all, they're just one person. How can they make any significant difference?
It is frustrating. Don't get me wrong. We're not after people in National Grid running around going, security, security, everything's about security. Far from it, they've got day jobs, but we do want them to be demonstrating the secure behaviours that we're educating in our learning. And we do want them, where they see things not going right, to be challenging for the people as well. So it is possible, but you do need that engaged workforce as well.
Yeah, but that's easier said than done, Nick.
It is hard work. We've put a lot of time and effort into it. We're not going to just give you loads of pearls of wisdom, far from it, but we're going to share with you some of the lessons that we've learned along the way.
So we have a secret, and it's reward and recognition. Erica did touch upon it earlier, so she has to give you a bit of insight. But we see both these as essential components to both motivation and engagement.
So rewards is just obviously something tangible, something in the hand, very much like it can be cash, it can be gift cards, or it can be just gifts as well. We've used them in the program, but not massively. When we've experimented with them, it causes quite a few problems really quite quickly. So simple things like logistics. You know, we only operate in 2 regions, but there's quite a lot of water in between us. So trying to get gifts or any articles to physical places when we've got hundreds of sites in both regions, and then that's before you even layer in the working from home or hybrid workforce as well. So just logistically, it was a nightmare trying to move products around. But equally, then there's a bit of a consistency as well. We were rewarding for great behaviours, but then how can you really evaluate totally different behaviours, which is more valuable than the others? And equally, it does then start to open you up to a little bit of abuse as well. People see the opportunity to get some cash or get some gifts. They're probably going to start to drive some of the wrong behaviours, things that you're not really focused on. So therefore, we just focused on recognition. One of those elements, it just feels better to us as well.
And we know recognition isn't something tangible, but what it does do is present the opportunity to recognise someone or something in different ways. It's a perfect way to appreciate a behaviour, an action, or an achievement. And it doesn't only fulfill an emotional and psychological element, but everyone else can get involved too. So you've got peers, colleagues also joining in with recognising and appreciating the rewards and recognition that we're giving. That's me. So recognition is part of the social behaviour science of Bandura's cognitive social theory. Try saying that really slowly. Gets me every time. But it's social learning, in other words. So in a sense that when someone sees someone else being rewarded, praised, acknowledged for something, it's only going to motivate and encourage them to do the same or similar. And guess what? It costs absolutely nothing. $0, £0. It's free to say, well done or good job. So those of you with little or no budget, this is the initiative for you.
I've definitely got budget for $0. So occasional reward is good, but what we're saying is sustained recognition for positive security behaviours really generates an amazing engagement tool.
But how did we get there? What did we do?
So it is quite tricky. We absolutely took time, just like some of the previous presentations, engage with our workforce, see what motivates them, see what makes them tick. Not just in security, but just in other topics that like diversity and safety, like I mentioned before. What lessons could we pinch from them?
So we talk to our colleagues literally everywhere and anywhere. Some of them know us that well, they run in the opposite direction when they see us. No, they don't really, they love us. We talk to them at any time, place, and it's something that you can all do too, whether that's virtually or in person. Take advantage of your escape rooms, your new induction for employees, or even surveys. Get a feel for their general security knowledge, understand what really makes them tick, and also how they're responding to your program.
Yeah, cakes and sweets are super effective as well.
But don't blackmail.
No, if I had cakes and sweets all over here, no doubt you guys are a lot more interested in coming to talk to me than if it's a blank table as well. Freebies as well. So we've had the usual pens, mugs, mouse mats, all that type of stuff. We've branded it internally with some of our key slogans. We'll get onto the recognition bit first, shortly, sorry. But with the slogans that we have is be part of our human firewall, and there's no security without you. So very much trying to bring them in to play their key role. It was mentioned before as well, but really trying to keep things fun as much as possible. We had a challenge last year and repeated it a couple of times this year called keeping it clean. You probably just asked me that on the break. It really did engage a lot of people on it as well.
It weren't just because of the title either.
Yeah. So what we've found throughout all the conversations, there was just common themes. People wanted to really feel part of National Grid security. They wanted to understand that they were playing their role. They were less interested in all the technological stuff, but what were they specifically doing? So you've got to try and keep it really focused on those issues. So we put our thinking caps on and adapted our program to bring them more involved and recognized in the program.
So 2 years ago, we really started fostering a collaborative and inclusive approach to our program, one where we could make our colleagues feel valued, appreciated, and heard. And then in turn, this did drive more secure behaviours, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And just like that, we did have a much more engaged workforce. They were definitely demonstrating the positive behaviours that we wanted, and that sort of culture question was very much becoming much more apparent that we had a strong culture.
So let's talk about what worked well for us, some of our initiatives.
And obviously what didn't as well.
Oh yes, let's share our lessons learned.
So we introduced several processes to introduce recognition. We're only going to cover just a few just on the board in a second. But the key point is where you can get recognition into your program, absolutely try to bring it in consistently and across all your processes and your activities. So the first activity we were focused on is our sort of repeat clickers. And that's obviously fish campaigns. I'm sure you've all got the same problems of that stubborn repeat clicker community. We spent so much time tinkering and tailoring our communications with this audience, trying to really get that perfect balance between motivating and enabling the correct security behaviours, which is simply identifying the phishing red flags and then using that report fish button in our Outlook ribbon to report it in our case. We even really tried to rebrand it slightly to say our Fish Academy. So that was in an attempt to soften the blow almost of the impending assignments of further training coming to individuals. It really felt like we were the bringers of bad news, we were the time robbers, we were taking time away. So was there another way that we could achieve the same aim? And that's where last November, we introduced our phishing belts. We call it the Fish Fighter program. It's an annual program, obviously taking the lessons from martial arts. You progress from white belt through to black belt, depending on your capability levels. In this example, our capability is identifying phishing red flags and using the report fish button. So the more that you do that over the course of the year, the higher belt status you will be rewarded. We get bespoke messages for each of the belts. So even if you don't report fish, you'll get a white belt notification, for instance, that educates you on the fish belt status. The response was just absolutely fantastic. Our team's Dotbox and our Viva Engage channels were just absolutely inundated with our colleagues just saying thank you and what a great initiative. This is really good. We even found that people were taking the Fish Fighter belt status and copying it into their email tags as well when they were sending emails.
But it did get us in trouble with our internal branding team. So top tip, if you're going to do an initiative like this, include them and bring them on your journey.
We found people just absolutely thanked us for the recognition as well, especially the people that were getting the higher belt status. They were saying, thank you for the Fish Fighter belt. Reporting fish has always been something I'm focused on. It's great to see you're giving me this recognition now. And they were celebrating that.
But we also had complaints.
We did have complaints.
Yeah, because everyone wants to be a black belt, don't they? So they weren't happy when they weren't upgrading their status because they didn't click enough.
They didn't, absolutely. We equally found it seemed to be the major talking point in other just business meetings that we're having. So when we were invited to team hubs to talk around data classification, for instance, within minutes, and I'm not quite sure how, it seemed to turn into a compare and contrast exercise on what belt status people had got to as well.
So it was getting those positive conversations going, and the belt status turned into more conversations about different security risks that we're seeing throughout the organization.
Yeah, and it was positive conversations, like Sophie said, not the usual conversation of mandatory training that we're just about to assign to people as well. So is the program specifically working? Well, we've run 2 all-company campaigns since we launched the Fish Fighter belt recognition. We've had 2 of our best 3 ever report rates, which is great, and 2 of our lowest ever, click rates, which is great as well. So yeah, it seems to be working. We're now, obviously, we've only run 2 campaigns, so we're very much in that sustainment and growth stage now. So we're going to continue the Fish Fighter program. We might tinker and tailor it slightly depending on feedback, but it's here to stay is part of the program. What we're doing now is we're obviously communicating a lot more with those folks at the very top end of the fish campaigns, the ones who are doing the positive security behaviours in reporting fish. And what that is starting to generate is that sort of peer pressure down onto other colleagues who are at a lower belt status for whatever particular reason. They could be really positive conversations that we in the small central team, we just can't get to in the organisation. So small teams, just individuals, whilst their colleagues, either on a Teams chat or physically sat next to each other in the office or on site, they can have conversations around what belt status are you? Oh, you're here. Did you do the last campaign? No, I didn't do it because I couldn't find the report fish button. Oh, that's interesting. Let me take a look at your screen, or let me share your screen. Do you see it up here in your Outlook ribbon? Oh, no, it's not there for you. Try clicking on the 3 dots, the ellipsis button, and it scrolls down, and there it is. Or maybe they didn't spot the fish itself. So they can use the example of the fish and say, oh, so it was Microsoft with a 0 instead of an O, or the branding was slightly off. So those much more local conversations that we've tried to generate at the high corporate level, they're now really percolating down into meaningful team-based conversations as well.
So it really is that simple. The tools that we're using, and I say tools loosely because we probably took inspiration from someone in this room or someone watching online, but that's okay because sharing's caring. We're here to share with you too. And we've all got the same goal, and that's to protect our organizations from the threats that we face. So as I was saying, using reward and recognition as a tool can really supercharge your awareness programs. And another one we use are security advocates. Well, you might know them as champions, and many of you might have them. And if you don't, you need to put them on your wish list because they are fantastic. Our advocates really play a significant part in helping reinforce our security messaging and encourage training uptake. You know, they can connect to their local teams in ways we can't as an overarching security function. As much as we are good translators, they're even better.
They are great. We've got coverage of our advocates across the entire organisation, even on the tricky to reach places like our sites, our regional remote sites, as well as those sort of high impact areas as well. And they really are just helping us do our day job. And I know some of them are watching online as now. So thank you very much.
And the data speaks for itself. So we do monitor the effect that they're having on our program. And our data shows that they are responsible for helping to raise awareness of our live events, increase our compliance rates for our training, and also boost our communications reach month on month. So they really are doing a really good job for us, and we really do value them.
But you might think, why do they actually want to help us? Goes back to that reward and recognition point again.
Which is my favourite part. So we like to find ways to help recognise our advocates for being able to appreciate the value and commitment that they bring to the programme, because, you know, it's not their day job like it is ours. They're doing it on top of what they do. So not only do we offer them sort of shout outs in their local community forums or on our socials or even directly to their line management, but we try to find ways to meaningfully reward them. And sometimes, yes, it has monetary value, but other opportunities arise, such as development opportunities, which I used to run a mile from if someone offered them to me because I knew what it meant.
But our advocates absolutely love them.
They do. So we acknowledge that, use it to our advantage. And one way that we did this is create a 3-tier development program, which was designed to offer our advocates the human skills and security knowledge to enable them to be able to have those security-focused behavioural change conversations directly in their local teams.
And the results, again, have been great. We've had a lot more advocate activity just in this year so far than we did in the previous year. So when I say advocate activities, a few things that they might be doing is really simple things like interacting with our posts on Viva Engage. So a simple act of either liking, commenting, or sharing one of our sort of centrally led posts. With the algorithm behind Viva Engage, it boosts the trajectory of that post, so a lot more people across the organization will end up seeing it. They've taken our security moments as well, so every month we do a single PowerPoint slide on a topic of our choosing, depending on what risk we're focused on. And they're now taking that to their leaders in their organization and saying, I'm going to deliver this security moment at the beginning of your town hall. So again, it's really pressing home a lot of our central messaging. And equally, we've got cyber escape rooms as well via Live in Security. And they're actually at the point now where they're starting to facilitate those escape rooms for us, which is quite literally they are doing our job for us at this stage. Just as a piece of recognition that we're giving back to our advocates, we've now got a signed by the CISO certificate as a thank you for participation, and that's being given out to our security advocates now.
And that's a really good one. They're really appreciative of that. So we let them get involved in as much or as little as they like. As Nick said, they host our escape rooms, they get involved with our phishing campaigns, and they can even jump on board with new initiatives and projects that we're rolling out. Whatever they have a desire for, we really do acknowledge it and help make it happen.
So we knew sort of a lot of our activities were working. There's a lot more anecdotal stories that were either coming back to us or security leadership team or just other parts of security of people demonstrating positive security behaviours. And
we thought about taking those. Can we have phones on silent, please? We thought about taking those and flipping them into a KPI, but then adding them to our metrics dashboard, because we love a KPI and we love our dashboard, but we had a better idea.
And that's security stars as well. So think of a security star as a colleague-nominated example of a really great security behaviour that they've spotted in the organisation. Just an example, say if I'm just walking back into the office with Sophie one day and we've got access control turnstiles in our offices. So I might have swiped and gone through, and then Sophie's waited for the turnstile to stop and then done the same, but then someone quickly slides in behind Sophie. So a great security, so that's obviously a bad security behaviour by that individual, just for avoidance of doubt. Sophie, in this example though, she's recognised this has happened and she's spoken to that person who sidled in with her and just talked to that person, first of all, making sure they actually are an employee, most importantly, on the assumption that they are. It's a bit of a conversation of the importance of access controls with them. So I've observed Sophie do that, so I can obviously give some in-the-moment feedback to Sophie, which is obviously the best type of recognition you can possibly get, but security can't be everywhere at all times. So what I could then do is report that through to security as a security star. It's simply an MS form that comes through into our Teams box, like a chronological event of what's happened. We receive it in the team and we just celebrate that action. We've got a template and we'll put Sophie's name in the middle with a star around it and a little bit of a narrative around what it was that she did. And we shout about it loud and wide, typically on our Viva Engage, but it can be on our company newsletter and our Infonet site as well. What it's really there to do is just make security much more grounded, much more something that people can see and take inspiration from, make it a talking point. And then Sophie can really quite clearly see that she is part of our human firewall.
And it sounds a bit cheesy, but it really does work. We're receiving nominations now sort of every week. Yeah. And, you know, they could vary from someone stopping an unescorted visitor in their tracks and kindly returning them to their host, who is always ever so thankful for that, to someone, you know, reporting some suspicious activity outside one of our sites that who knows what that could be. It could be hostile reconnaissance for all we know. But, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry and to say something if you see something.
They're just super simple for us to do as well. If you think about it, the reporter is literally doing all of our hard work for us. So they're going out and finding that positive behavior. They are telling us, and they're filling in this MS form, and literally almost word for word, we can pretty much copy and paste that into our of interest article that we post out as well. So far with stars, we're literally just, the recognition seems to be more than enough. We're just constantly getting these nominations through. We've not given any monetary rewards out yet, but depending on the action, we might look to do that in the future. We are looking to really bake this into our processes as well. So as and when we're updating our learning modules, for instance, we're bringing in security stars as a key point to show that talking about security and celebrating security is really vital.
And we've got another piece of evidence as well with this for our auditors to show that, you know, what our initiatives are having a really material impact on our program.
Absolutely. The auditors aspect is really good.
So in summary, I can see that the clock's counting down and want to leave some space for questions. So building a positive reward and recognition into our program, we've seen that it's really helped boost engagement throughout the organization. We've got colleagues talking about it in a more positive manner. We recognize that we used to have more silent participants throughout the organization that used to take a bit of a backseat, dabble in security here and there, but they're really now flourishing and coming to life in terms of security and having those positive conversations.
Absolutely. So if we move on to the key takeaways, you can see here, that's my favorite takeaway anyway, from Brent. So first of all, it really is finding the positive security behaviors that obviously mean the most to you. You're probably all quite similar to us. It's probably something around social engineering, phishing, passphrase or password hygiene as well. Really then identify the people who are doing it well. Hopefully you might have some data available that really informs you of this. The phishing report ones are the easiest ones. But once you've identified them, absolutely use all the opportunities that you've got to praise and recognize these people and their behaviors publicly, widely, timely if possible as well, and just consistently, just keep doing that over a long period of time. And the more you can make it fun, the obviously better it's going to engage folks as well. It's much more accessible to them. So that's it from us. So thank you very much, and we'll welcome any questions and yeah, we'll try the answers.
But we're aware it's lunchtime, so we'll try to be quick.
Awesome, thank you guys. Remember, if you have questions in the room, please raise your hand. We have about 5 minutes for questions, but I'll go ahead and get us started online. A really popular one that we had within the Slack channel, Sophie and Nick, is can you share the logistics of managing and maintaining different belt levels in your fish program?
Yeah, we're quite fortunate, to be fair. So we use Proofpoint as our email defense gateway, and we use the Proofpoint tool to manage it for us. But we've got equally a performance team that sits quite close to us as well. These team of 3 guys, they are absolute ninjas when it comes to Power BI. So they've taken the data out of Proofpoint, doing whatever clever stuff it is that they do. I'm not going to try to explain, but it gives us out a whole heap of lists for each belt status, and each time we do a new campaign, the logic, the flows, and we have tested it and it does work, it overwrites and moves people's belt status up, doesn't knock them down if they're subsequently quicked, and maintains them at the right levels as well. So I'm afraid to say it's a Power BI solution, but I'm not the techie guy to answer it really well.
Have you guys found, I know that you guys are just starting this, but have you found that with the phishing belt that people are kind of submitting or kind of over reporting emails, and how do you kind of manage that, especially if you have a team that's small that's actually kind of triaging those messages to begin with?
Yeah, so our SecOps team, we have had a conversation with them, but it seems to be just literally like a couple of people that after we introduce that fish fighter campaign, they just seem to quite literally report every external email that came into their inbox. Obviously, a lot of that is automatically triaged in SecOps, but their name got on a bit of a worry list sort of thing. They literally, to be honest, they just passed us the information over of these couple of people. We had quite just a Teams conversation with them saying, thank you for your vigilance, obviously, but these are the red flags to look out for. And your actions are probably well-meaning. They're starting to distract our security team away from their core duty of responding to incidents. So, and it died away really quickly. So thankfully, 28,000 in the company, it was you're literally talking a couple of people who went a bit overboard with it.
Hi. How did you overcome HR roadblocks when rewarding people? Because security is always just a slice of the pie for their work. And we have historically run into problems where we cannot recognize or reward somebody because we don't know if they're on a verbal warning, their final warning, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's part of the reason why we pivoted to recognition more than reward relatively quickly. But what our HR program has got, they've got an appreciate program where and this is just a corporate-wide thing, it's not just a security thing. If you recognize someone in the organization who's gone above and beyond their normal day job in whatever behavior it might be or a task, you can log onto a company site and appreciate them. And appreciate could just be a token thank you card, or it could be monetary value. And it's monetary via the gifts and gift cards as well. So that's a company-wide sponsored program that HR leads. So we leveraged into that. But like I said, that's got consistency levels on there. So points mean prizes almost. So that's where that consistency issue really, where we start to swerve away from it, because what's a better security behavior than another? It was quite difficult to manage. So we've used the existing tools from our HR sponsored suite, but we really tried to pivot to more recognition.
Hello, hi, Lisa Riddick with Procter & Gamble. Definitely like to see, love to see that whole advocate program, because we have embedded like security champions in our business units, and we also have cybersecurity leaders in our manufacturing sites. But the issue is the competing priorities, right? And so do you have any suggestions on how do we create that win-win? Like, for example, in our plants, safety is important, right? But we want security to be just as important. And so our advocates in our plants have difficulty saying, hey, we need to do this for cyber, because they need to make product and get it out the door. So any like suggestions on how we can help equip them to promote security as much as they promote safety?
Perseverance. Getting them talking. Like we said earlier, we talk all the time to anyone and everyone. We bring merchandise, so we think outside the box. We've had car air fresheners for all our field employees to put in their vans to get them talking about security. We've got, what else have we got? Notebooks and notepads. We've got magnets that we stick up on all of our sites. So our advocates that are based in operational sites, we'll give them magnets and tell them to go and stick them around everywhere. So that security is literally in the face of all their colleagues. And our moment is another good one. So every month, we encourage our advocates to take the presentation that we make to their local meetings and put it in front of everybody that they can. And that also initiates them positive security conversations.
Just last on that, you're never going to win that fight trying to get security as high as safety in that type of environment. So I think just accept that fact, but try to use the safety to much as your benefit as you possibly can. So in your own wording, your own branding, it's almost stay safe and secure. So the more that you can just leverage the security message into the safety message, you're much more likely to get that audience specifically to engage with you.
Awesome, everybody. Give it up for Sophie and Nick once again.